Hello, this is Pop. Welcome to another exciting episode of DNA Hardwired, Common Sense Turned Upside Down. I'll be alone today. My other two hosts, Jack and Aaron, they won't be available today, so we'll go ahead and hash this thing out ourselves. The last few weeks, we've been talking about politics and racism and how racism plays a role in politics. But last week, we ended up getting on the subject of guns in America. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about guns in America this episode. And I'll probably talk a little bit about some of the politics that's also going on in America today. But suicides have long accounted for the majority of gun deaths, suicides. Um, as a matter of fact, as of 2023, almost 60% of all gun-related deaths in the U.S. were suicides. 38% of all gun deaths were the result of murders. And the remaining gun deaths that year primarily involved law enforcement, which was about 604 deaths. There were accidental deaths, about 463. And then there were undetermined circumstances, about 436. 434. This comes from the Center for the Disease Control, the CDC. So let's get into a little bit of background on guns. Where did guns originally come from? That was one of my thoughts. Well, the first true guns, they were known as hand cannons. Can you picture that? Hand cannons. And they were actually developed in China around 1280 or 1300. These early handheld firearms they emerged following the invention of gunpowder in the 9th century in China, and the later development of the 10th century. They called them fire lances, and they were basically combustible weapons. So the earliest known records of guns originated in China. Now, the earliest guns in America, they were primarily European imported. They call them matchlock muskets. There's another name here. It's arquebuses, and then also wheel locks. These weapons were used by explorers and settlers in the 16th and 17th centuries. The first truly American developed firearm was the Kentucky / Pennsylvania long rifle. Now, this was in around the 18th century, and it was primarily known for a spiraled grooved barrel. Now, I don't want to get too deep in some of this stuff and bore you, but I feel a need to kind of give a little bit of history on guns, where they originally came from, and here we are today. Okay. Original handguns in America evolved from early 19th century, and they were flintlocks. Went from flintlocks to revolvers. So that was in the earliest 19th century where we actually ended up with revolver guns. They've got some models here, but I'm not going to get too deep in what type of models they were. These were followed by the, they said, iconic 1860 Army revolver and the 1873 Colt pacemaker. Okay, so that was kind of like the origins of the guns. That's where they kind of originated from. So, how did guns become a part of our Constitution? Okay, so and was the right to bear arms a part of the original Constitution? So that's a question. Was the right to bear arms part of the original Constitution? When our forefathers was drawing up this document for us to live and be governed by, did they originally think that that man needed to have a gun? And the answer was no. The right to bear arms, or gun rights, it was not part of the original U.S. Constitution, which was ratified in 1788. Instead, it was added, shortly after, as part of the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights, and that was done or ratified on 1791. And basically, it reads as follows: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, this clause has been interpreted to protect an individual's right to possess firearms, and particularly for self-defense, primarily in the home. That was really what the intent was. The amendment was originally intended to ensure a well-regulated militia as a safeguard against threats of a large, standing free army, potential foreign invasions, and the risk of tyranny of federal overreach within our own government. It aimed to preserve state sovereignty, and it allowed states to maintain security relying on a professional federal force. Now, can remember, this is way early back in our beginnings. Okay, wasn't many laws, wasn't many law enforcement agencies and that type of thing. So we remember now. We're dealing with a different time. As a matter of fact, many modern legal interpretations argue that the concept is obsolete because the role has been replaced by the National Guard and the rise of a standing federal army. And plus, again, we have local law enforcement. We've got local police departments. We've got the state police, highway patrol, CIA, FBI. We have a lot of other agencies now that's designed to help protect the normal, average, everyday citizen. We got to remember, or maybe you didn't know, but I'm going to tell you, that really the National Rifle Association it actually played a pivotal. They were pivotal, behind the scenes, by helping to shape the legal strategy, funding lawsuits, that type of thing, for an individual rights interpretation of the Second Amendment. Previously, when folks was trying to interpret the Second Amendment, there was a dispute on whether or not the amendment was intended for individuals to actually own weapons, or whether it's supposed to have been that well-regulated militia. So all the way up until 2008, this argument was tossed back and forth. But there was a decision in 2008 in D.C. It was the District of Columbia versus Heller, where it was decided that that Second Amendment actually did mean for individuals to personally own firearms. It really hasn't ever been universally illegal to carry a gun in America. There was never a time where every state where it was illegal to carry a gun in America. There were some states where it was, but there was never a consensus state, in America where you couldn't carry a weapon. But there's always been restrictions, on carrying those weapons. And I think one of the problems that, like Brother Aaron, one of my other co-hosts, one of his problems is this thing with, and I think Jackie too, is this thing with they want to be able to, and they'll be able to answer this, but my understanding is that they want to be able to carry a firearm, as many as they want, any type they want, without any type of restrictions. That's their take on it. But there's always been restrictions, and the more we talk about this, we'll see the reasons why. I mean, I think you should understand the reasons why we need restrictions on firearms. When we get into talking about the pros and cons of owning a firearm, and when we talk about firearm deaths, which we will see that the original intent of owning a firearm, there were things that our forefathers wasn't aware of, and therefore didn't consider when they added that to the gun rights to the Second Amendment. Or otherwise, I'm pretty sure they would have added some other things, but we'll get into that a little later. Let's look at some key historical developments in gun carrying restrictions. In the 18th and 19th century, many states and territories actually banned carrying concealed weapons, with some places like Texas and Wyoming banning handguns in towns. In other words, you couldn't carry handguns in towns in Texas and Wyoming back in the late 1800s. In 1934, the National Firearms Act, they call it the NFA, the National Firearms Act was passed, and it imposed heavy restrictions and taxation on specific types of firearms, such as machine guns and short barrel shotguns. And I meant to research this and I forgot, but I do know that, or I'm thinking that even as of today in 2026, you are not allowed to carry a machine gun, which is kind of crazy to me, but you can carry an automatic weapon, which for all intents and purposes, that's what a machine gun does. If I'm not mistaken, it's automatic fire. Now, you can own these semi-automatic rifles, but you can't own a machine gun. That's how crazy we are. Talking about common sense turned upside down. And you can't carry short-barreled shotguns. Well, let me ask you a question. Which is easier to hide? Because I'm thinking that that's the purpose of a short barrel shotgun. They don't want you to be able to hide it, right? Which is easier to hide, a pistol or a short barrel shotgun? This is how crazy we are when it comes to some of these laws. But if I'm not mistaken, it's still on the books where you can't carry a machine gun, but you can have a semi-automatic rifle, or even they got semi-automatic handguns now. You can have those, and you can't have a short barrel shotgun. You can't saw the barrel off. You can't saw the barrel off of a shotgun and make it a short barrel shotgun. In California in 1967, they passed the Mulford, M-U-L-F-O-R-D, the Mulford Act, which prohibited carrying loaded firearms in public without a permit. Now, that was in California in 1967. Here we are today, where we've kind of, depending on the state again, we've kind of went back and forth on whether or not you are able to carry a loaded firearm in public without a permit or hidden. No, I take that back. I meant to say whether or not you could carry a hidden firearm. In other words, not exposed. But as far as with a permit, if I'm not mistaken, probably every state you're going to have to have a permit to carry a gun. I'm thinking, I could be wrong, but that's something I'll double check on. But I'm pretty sure every state you have to have some kind of a permit to carry a loaded weapon. I could be wrong. On your person, anyway. In 1968, the Gun Control Act of 1968 was enacted, and it established stricter licensing, and it prohibited sales to felons and other prohibited persons. I'm thinking people with probably with mental issues and that type of thing, or underage people, those type of folks. In the 1980s and 1990s, despite restrictions, this period saw a shift toward shall issue concealed carry laws in many states. That's a lot of the states have resorted to allowing people to carry concealed weapons in many states. You can conceal them. In the 21st century, again, gun laws they vary by state, with some states adopting permitless carry laws. In other words, I had talked a little earlier about whether or not you had to have a permit. Well, now this is saying that some states you don't have to have a permit to carry, while others you do. The right to bear arms protected by the Second Amendment of the Constitution allows citizens to own firearms for self-defense and other legal issues. Again, and we're going to get into what these firearms are actually being used for from the parents of all of these deaths anyway. Key arguments for carrying include personal safety and protection against tyranny, versus increased risk of gun violence, suicides, and accidents. Those are the cons to gun ownership. And like I said again, we'll get into that. As a matter of fact, we're going to get into that now. Some of the pros and cons of actually owning a firearm. So so this deterrence thing against our government tyranny, I don't think that one's going to. I don't think that one's going to fly today. So,
Hey,
hey, brother, oh Jackie, you on, brother? You able to sit in or not?
yeah, yeah, I'm on. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right, then good. I've been on for about 20 minutes, and so
I know.
okay, I've been going over some. I went over some history, and so now I'm kind of into some of the pros and cons of the of owning a weapon. So what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and start back with the.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this. What I'll do is, since you're on now, I'll let you just go ahead and share any initial thoughts and feelings that you may have on gun ownership, if you have any.
I think it's absolute. I think it's absolutely necessary. Now, some people may disagree with me, and that's fine. But I'm an advocate of a strong proponent of the Second Amendment, number one, and I get why it was there. It's for militias, and not militias uh, for citizens in this country to protect themselves against the government. So, but I am a strong proponent again of that Second Amendment. I do not want to interfere with my right to have a gun. It's not to hurt anybody. It's to protect me, just in case I need somebody getting hurt as a byproduct of me doing it. So
Okay. So
that's my initial stance.
Okay. All right. Okay, so what I'm gonna do then is I'm just gonna start over with the pros. I had just gotten into the pros, arguments in favor of owning a gun, and so I'll just quickly go over.
I've gone over, unless you don't give me necessarily have to. I've gone over with the pros from the Notion Center. I actually have.
Yeah, but I want to well let's touch on this one though, because one of them you touched on, and I was just covering that one. It was on deterrence. And it was dealing with a heavily armed citizenry is viewed by some as a deterrent against violent crime and potential government tyranny. And you mentioned that. You just mentioned that. Something about protecting against the government. Brother Jackie, you retired military. And if I'm not mistaken, you are very, very aware of the capabilities of our military. And if not, ask our president. He'll tell you. How in the hell are you or other millions, let's say millions of civilians, how in the hell, if the government did decide to rise up against us, how your little pea shooter going to protect us against the government? And I had mentioned this. Let me finish this for a second. I had mentioned this. When our forefathers came up with this thing with the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms and all the rest of this stuff, you have to acknowledge that there was things that they were totally unaware of. This thing about protecting against our government, yeah, they thought that we were going to be equally armed. We are far, far from being equally armed. The citizens and our government, we're far, far from being equally armed. So go ahead. I'm gonna let you address that.
No, we're not equally armed. But during that time, during the time when the Constitution was written,
right, we
were equally armed.
I agree.
The matter of fact, the weaponry was the same. Now,
I agree.
We obviously, from a weaponry standpoint, we are far more advanced.
I agree.
In compared with what the military has compared to what the average citizen has.
Right.
So I get that.
Right. And that was my point.
I think,
go ahead, brother.
No, and I just think that the spirit of the Second Amendment, I think the spirit behind it, I think it still applies today. Like, I should have the right to protect myself against anyone.
Well, here's what you do. You don't have the right to protect yourself against our government. You don't have that right. If our government, let me lower my voice. If our local law, and you know this, if our local law authorities stop you for, let's just say something as simple as a traffic violation, and you know it's BS. You know it's BS, right? You don't have a right to tell them, no, I'm not gonna obey your direction. Now let me say this. Now, if you're saying and this is me talking, you can agree with it or not, but this is me talking. Now, if you get pulled over by a cop and you're loaded for bear, you got your shit with you in your car and it's loaded, right? And you got a permit to carry, so you're legal from every aspect of it. You're legal. That cop pulls you over, and he don't like your attitude, and stuff escalates, and he pulls out his gun on you, and he points his gun at you. What would you do? You see what I'm saying?
I wouldn't do anything.
That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do anything.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I wouldn't do anything. However, I don't necessarily believe that is blanket like that. Sometimes that cop needs to have a little fearfulness in him too. That you don't know how far I'm willing to go with your at this traffic stop.
And you're right.
You don't know how far I'm willing to go.
Yeah, and you're right. And cops know that. You do know that cops know that. You do know cops know that.
My thing is, yeah, I know that. And I think cops have too much power in that department right there.
And I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree.
Huh?
I wouldn't disagree. I think law enforcement, in a lot of cases, we as citizens, I think that we, even in a traffic stop, even if we were wrong, I think we still deserve a certain degree of respect, if nothing else, right? I think we do. And I agree with you on that one. But I didn't mean to kind of get off on this. But my whole thing is, I think when push comes to shove, this thing about deterrence, as far as deterring any deterrence toward our government, I don't know if we can, owning a gun is going to help us with that one. But anyway, another.
I agree.
Right.
I 100% agree with it.
Yeah.
Because we are definitely outgunned, if you want.
That's all.
Against.
And you acknowledged it, though. Yeah, and you acknowledged
we're
it.
Not.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I said we are outgunned against the military. We're not really outgunned against local cops, and I can prove it to you. There's a video of a case. There's a video out there of this situation. I think it was 1996 when that one guy in L.A.
I think it was two of them.
Loaded to the teeth.
I think it was two of them.
It was two of them.
Yeah.
And the cops did not have enough bullets up. They did not have enough ammunition.
Yeah.
They went to the local pawn shop.
Yeah, you're right.
And confiscated guns and ammunition in that pawn shop.
Yeah.
To
deal with them.
They ended up killing those two guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those guys, they were prepared. They was body armor and all this other stuff. And you're right. I remember that. And that was only two guys.
That was two guys.
That was two guys.
And I think from a local standpoint, that's one of the issues. Yes, we can't fight the military. Right. But me as a private citizen, a cop, let's look at what local law enforcement have in their vehicles. They have a sidearm, which is typically a 9mm. They have an AR, close by, or a shotgun. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you though, ammunition. I got more ammunition in my garage right now than that one cop has, and he has 3 guns.
But I think you're bringing up another good point. But I think that incident in California alerted some local law enforcement that, hey, we need to come be better prepared. So anyway, that's another debate though, as far as whether or not the local law authorities are well enough equipped. Okay, but that was one of the pros for it. Another a pro for owning a gun. It says here it's immediate response. It talked about providing immediate protection in scenarios where law enforcement response times might be slow. So in other words, yes, you're in your home, or maybe you see something going on out there on the street, and somebody's being attacked, and you see it, you call local law enforcement or somebody else call them, but because of the time factor, you're able to intervene and help resolve that issue. So yeah, I mean, I think that's, I guess that's reasonable. But I also think some other pro arguments that I didn't find listed was, I mean, I think people, I can see people collecting guns because they're gun collectors, right? I can see people having guns because for target practice, a sport. I can see people owning guns for hunting, right? So I think that there's some pros for gun ownership. I'm not against that, but I am against certain. And I talked about this a little earlier, and I had said that you and your brother appear, now I could be wrong, so it's good that you're on. It appears that you have a somewhat of an issue with the restrictions, some of the restrictions, right? Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay. But anyway, all right. So now some cons against owning gun. First one right off is gun violence, right? Says higher gun ownership rates are associated with increased risk of homicides, accidental deaths, and suicide. I think we would all agree with that. That's just common sense. The more guns that are out there, the big. And now I'm going to later on we'll run into something that might contradict that just a little bit. But for the sake of this outline right now, we'll go with that. But the more guns you have out there in the hands of private citizens, the higher the risk of homicides, accidental death, and suicides. Would you agree with that?
Say that. Ask that question one more time. Make that statement one more time.
Okay. Now these are cons against ownership.
Okay.
It says gun violence, and it says higher gun ownership rates. The more people own guns, are associated with increased risk of homicides, accidental deaths, and suicide. More people owning more guns, the better chance that there are going to be more murders, more accidental deaths, and suicide. So you agree with that or not?
Yes. They go hand in hand.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a con against it. Public safety risk. It says, and I think this kind of ties into that first statement there. It says increased presence of firearms in public spaces can lead to higher violence rates and complicate law enforcement efforts. In other words, I think if most people are carrying some heat and they're out in public, and some of these disputes that we commonly get into, in public, these little disputes where we normally we would solve it just by, talking, right? Talking stuff, or maybe we may even get into a fist fight. But if we load it, hey, we might pull it out and maybe just with the intent of frightening that person. Maybe we have no intent of actually using it, but we pull it out, and guess what? That other person got one too. So they pull it out. Now we both pointing this gun at each other. So now it comes down to, am I going to trust this person not to shoot me, or should I shoot them first? So I think that's what they're talking about as far as public risk. And then you got innocent people, bystanders, that might get caught up in it. So that was just another con. Any question or comment on that one? Okay.
We're not going to. My thing is, we're not going to be able to take all the negatives off the table.
Right.
The more cars you have on the road, the more accidents going to happen.
Absolutely.
That's par for the course.
Absolutely. And that's why I love you, brother. That's why I love you, because you got a lot of common sense, got a lot of knowledge, and I appreciate you sharing that. No, even though you may be on the other side of the argument, still you applying common sense. So we'll agree on that. Another con.
I believe some of these shootings that's happened, that's gone on, even like in the couple years ago, there was a shooting here in Texas in Walmart. By the time law enforcement got there, I think 6-7 people had been killed. Right up the street from me in Allen here at the Outlet Mall. I think this is in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Guy jumped out of his car with AR, and I think he killed 9 people before they killed him.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we can agree.
If more people were armed, you could actually intervene to a degree.
Maybe, or maybe more people get killed. I don't know, but that's a thought. That's a thought. All right. So limited regulations. This is another con. Some argue that despite the Second Amendment, stricter controls are needed for modern weapons to ensure safety. And see, and that's my thing. We go back to this again, and you said this yourself too. When our forefathers first, came up with this Second Amendment thing, right to bear arms, they were in a different time, different weaponry. So now I think that, and I think this is the reason we need to continually have these discussions about restrictions or not. We need to continue having these discussions. Should we have more restrictions? I mentioned earlier in the podcast, you explain this to me. Maybe you can explain this to me, brother. As far as you know, is it legal to own a machine gun in the United States of America? Is it legal to own a machine gun? As far as you know.
As far as I know, my understanding is no, you can't.
Okay, you can't own a machine gun. So you're a gun owner. You know a hell of a lot more about owning guns than I do. So let me ask you a question. If you had a choice between owning a handgun or an M16 or similar, which would you prefer? Which do you think would be more effective?
I got both. I have an AR, and I'm building another one right now. And I have a sidearm.
Okay.
Carry gun.
Okay. But what I'm saying though is, which do you think would be more effective, a machine gun or your AR?
Oh, from an effective standpoint, it depends on it depends on the environment that I'm in. Typically, inside my house, you would want a smaller gun because you got to worry about the bullet going through walls and that sort of thing.
No. You're not following me. You're not following me. I'm not talking about the difference between a handgun. I'm talking about your AR, your automatic weapon, and a machine gun. I'm talking about those two. Which do you think is probably going to be more effective as far as, because I don't think you're using a machine gun for target practice, and I don't think you're using your AR for target practice.
I do absolutely use my AR for target practice.
Do you think people use machine guns for target practice?
I guess they will. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, which would be more effective? Let me put it this way. Then let me put it this way. We'll go with that. Which do you think would be more effective at target practice? Machine gun or your AR?
My AR.
Exactly. So why is the machine gun illegal, but your AR is okay? I don't understand that.
Because a machine gun, you just like the old M16s, you can put your finger on the trigger and it'll fire every bullet until the clip is empty.
You mean to tell me that your AR can't do that, or some of these automatic weapons?
No.
You mean to tell me a semi?
No.
Well, let me finish. You mean to tell me that these semi-automatic weapons can't do that? You can't put it to where you can just go.
No. You can modify them. You can modify them to do that.
Well, that's all I'm saying. Well, but that's all. So that's all I'm saying. They could be used. So why are you allowed to own an AR that you can modify simply, right? But you can't have a machine gun. Another question for you. I talked about this a little earlier. Is it legal to saw off a shotgun? Make it a sawed-off shotgun.
So say that again. I'm sorry.
Is it legal to saw off a shotgun and use that and have that in your possession? A sawed-off shotgun.
My understanding to that is no.
Okay.
You cannot saw that.
Explain to me. Explain to me why not. Why do you think they?
You know what? I don't I don't. It's number one. It is a modification to that gun. I'm not sure if that's the thought process that went into making it illegal to do it. But
I think it has something. I think it has something to do with the fact that you could hide it. It's easier to hide.
Right? Yeah, it is easy. Yeah, it is easier to hide. Yeah.
Which is easier to hide? 40. I don't even know the magnums of guns. The thing of gun. Well, 57 Magnum. Which is easier, 57 Magnum or sawed-off shotgun?
357. It's it'd be easier to hide it. Typically, it's easier.
It's easier to hide a pistol than it would be. Than it would be. Yeah,
it would be easier to hide it.
See, so this is See, this is just my problem with some of this gun stuff. A lot of it, and it's across our society too. But we're talking about guns right now. It just don't make no sense. But anyway, that's one of my problems. But anyway, another con.
I just looked it up. Oh, let me correct something. I just looked it up. You actually can own a machine gun in the U.S. It's heavily regulated, but you actually can do it.
So they've changed it then again. And I'm sure the NRA had a lot to do with that. And I guess maybe it's because of what we're talking about right now. If you can have a semi-automatic AR, why wouldn't you be able to own a machine gun? It don't make no sense. But because of the NRA and people like you and Aaron supporting them, a lot of these rules that don't make no sense as far as guns, they're going to be changed. And so I think that's part of it. Now, another con to owning a gun, they talk about mental health and accidents. Unsecured guns can lead to accidental shootings, particularly involving children, or facilitate impulsive actions, right? Some key points of the debate here. Individual versus collective rights. So historical debate centers on whether the historical debate centers on whether the amendment, Second Amendment, applies to individual ownership or only to militia service. Well, that's been cleared up. I think it was 2008, that case out of D.C. The court said, nah, it's the individual thing. You have individual rights. So that's been cleared up. Public opinion. About 52% of Americans believe gun ownership increases safety, while 47% believe it reduces safety, highlighting a deeply divided public public. Countries with stricter gun laws generally experience lower rates of gun-related homicides, suicides, and mass shootings. While some nations,
countries with
stricter gun laws generally experience, and this is what you and Aaron don't want. Y'all don't want no strict gun laws. But anyway, countries with stricter gun laws generally experience lower rates of gun-related homicides, suicides, and mass shootings. Then it says, while
that's a known fact. That's not hard to figure out. That's a very disingenuous stat. If you limit guns, of course you're gonna have lower gun shootings. Duh.
Are you listening to yourself? No. Are you listening to yourself? So in other words, we don't want lower homicides, suicides, and mass shootings. We don't want lower.
Guess what?
What? Go ahead, say it.
Look.
Go ahead and say it.
Is this. You need to be no. What about? Guess what? Just like if you buy a car, you got to be a responsible person to drive that car down the street, right or wrong.
Yeah.
Because I can cause. Okay. And so we have to have responsible gun owners in this country. We have. I think that is where we have to. That's where we need to focus is to be responsible gun ownership.
Let me ask you, since you brought up the comparison of cars and guns, let me ask you this. People that are killed by cars, and there's a lot of them, a lot of folk killed by cars. Do you think those deaths are accidental or intentional? The majority of them. The majority of them. What was that?
No, majority accident. Majority accident.
Okay. The gun deaths, and there's a lot of those. Do you think the vast majority of those are accidental or intentional?
Gun deaths? No, I think the most gun deaths are intentional.
Okay. You don't see the difference?
No.
There's a difference.
I see. I know you don't get that point off because that point that's a very disingenuous point.
That ain't disingenuous. That's not disingenuous.
That's very disingenuous. I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you why.
Okay, go ahead.
When it comes to, there's a very, very small percentage of people in this country that commit crimes. Period.
What did you say?
That's a very small percentage of the American population that commits crimes. Period.
All right, let me give you some.
A very small percentage.
Let me give you some numbers here. Let me give you some numbers here. You led me into another section, which is good. All right, so let me just give you some, and these, man, I'll tell you, I hate statistics, but we gotta have them for just the reason that you're talking about right now. You're making a statement which is not true. And the only way we can prove it or verify it is through statistics. But it drives me nuts. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go over some more statistics here. Household ownership of guns. About 40 to 44% of households have a gun. So a lot of folks, almost half, 50% of Americans got guns. Personal ownership. They broke it down to household ownership, and then they broke it down to personal ownership. Roughly 32% of U.S. adults report personally owning a gun, right? This is according to a study in 2020 through 2023. Trends, they got trends here. Personal gun ownership rates have remained relatively stable since about 2007. Not going up too much, not going up. The personal gun ownership rates, they're pretty much stable. They're not going too far up. They're not going too far down. This has been since 2007. They've been relatively stable, right? Demographics. Gun ownership is higher among men, 45%. Between the two parties, 50% Republicans have guns, 50% Republicans. Rural residents, 48%. And Southerners, y'all Southerners like y'all guns, about 40%. Reasons for ownership. About 80% of gun owners cite protection as a primary reason for ownership. Volume of guns. There are roughly 393 million to 434 million firearms in civilian ownership. Okay, so now let's get into some other stuff here. It kind of relates to what you're saying. Justified homicide. In 2019, the FBI reported 316 justifiable homicides involving private citizens used in firing. 316. Now, guess how many was used in criminal activities?
Wait a minute. Say that last one again.
Okay. The FBI reported that there were actually 316 cases where there was justifiable killings. The people were justified. Now, keep in mind that also includes cops killing people too, right? That includes cops killing people. All right. Using a firearm. Now, that compares to how many criminal cases of gun homicides do you think there were? Just a guess, because I know you don't know, and I didn't know either. The only reason I know now is because I'm reading it. But how many do you think was criminal? There was murders compared to that 316 justified cases. No,
316.
I'm gonna give you the number.
You said no. I said the comparison is getting what now? Ask that question the way you asked the question. The way you asked it.
In other words, the FBI said there was a certain number of cases where it was justified these people being killed. There was 316 of those.
Right.
It was justified. Compared to some cases that wasn't. In other words, it was murder. I'm not even going to have you guess. I'm going to tell you. When this study was done, there was almost, there was 9,600 gun deaths. That was murder. 9,600.
Okay.
Compared to 300.
In this country.
Right. And you had said that there wasn't that many.
No, I said it's not that many. I said no. What I said was there's a very small percentage of people in this country that commit crimes with guns. It's a very small number.
Well, I don't know.
The number of people. The number of people that are committing crimes with guns. That's a very small number.
Is murder a crime?
Yeah, murder's a crime.
You don't think close to 10,000 people being killed by guns is a lot in a year?
Not in comparison to the American population. Absolutely. That's less than 1/10 of 1%.
Okay, all right.
That's less than 1/10 of 1%.
I can't. Okay, all right. Okay.
And guess what? That's the argument that the left uses right there. No, we got to get the numbers on here. If the American population is what?
A bunch. And I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to debate whether or not that 10,000 is a large percent of the total population of America or a very small percent. I'm with you. That's a very small percent of Americans being killed. But when you start looking at some of the, Nikki just looked it up. There's about 341 to 343 million.
42 million people in this country.
Yeah. So there's a bunch. Don't get me wrong. There's a bunch. But my thing is, when you take a look at, why these people are being killed or how they're being killed, we're talking about folks who are There's a high rate of suicides, right? These guns being used for suicides. They're being for murders. There's a lot of people with mental health issues that's taking their lives and taking other people's lives. Go ahead.
If you take the guns away, they're gonna use knives. Let's cut through the chase.
Well, let me see here. I had a statistic. Let me see.
Hold up.
Go ahead,
most
brother.
Most of the suicides in this country that where a gun is used is typically men. Women don't use guns typically when it comes to suicide. So we're talking about it. There's the demographic there is men. It's not women.
Well, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. Folks are being killed. Weapon breakdown. You just mentioned this thing, weapon breakdown. Let's see here, justifiable homicide, weapons breakdown. It says in justifiable homicides involving private citizens, firearms used, there was 88%. They were used 88% of the time, while knives are used 7%. Knives are used 7%, and personal weapons, they're talking about hands and feet and those type of things, were about 3% of the cases. So there's no there's I don't think you and I have an argument as far as which is the weapon of preference when it comes to killing people. It's guns, I would think, in America.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's guns because it's the most effective. It's the most effective.
It's definitely the most effective. I agree with you. So, yeah. So I mean, we went through a lot of stats and pros and cons and reasons that we have guns and why we shouldn't have guns. We went through all of those things, and in the final analysis, look, I meant to say this at the beginning of the podcast. There's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be people who own guns, and the chances are, no matter what anybody says, for the vast majority of those people, they're going to own guns. I mean, that's just the reality of it. No matter how many statistics you throw at them, no matter how crazy some of these statistics seem, it's just not going to matter. They've got their minds made up that owning a gun is beneficial to them for whatever their reason is: target practice, hunting, protection, whatever it is. So I'm not being naive about this. But my whole thing is I think that there's probably a lot of people out there where this might help them if they're contemplating purchasing a firearm. And they're not sure, and they might need some information, which might lead them one way or lead them the other way. That's my whole thing. Gun owners like Jackie and Aaron, chances are they're going to be gun owners. That's just the way it is. And again, my take on it is, since it's part of our Constitution, our Second Amendment, it says that you have a right to bear and own a weapon. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is this thing with not having certain restrictions. I just think that there's certain things a person shouldn't be allowed to do when it comes to a gun. But go ahead, brother.
Wait a minute. So when it comes to these restrictions, what restrictions do you think we should add?
Okay, you asked me what I think. Well, one of the things, one of the restrictions that I think that we should have is, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, and I think they may have already restricted this, but some people want to take it away. These armor-piercing bullets, for example. What the hell you need an armor-piercing bullet for? That's a restriction. Another one. Oh, okay. Go ahead. You could address that.
Who the heck is using armor-piercing bullets?
That's right. That's right. But here's the thing: if you ask a gun advocate, a gun advocate is going to say, "I should have the right to own one if I want it." And I think was that what you were going to say?
I would agree with that.
See, and that's what I'm saying. That's one of the restrictions. That's one of the restrictions. That's you asked me what restrictions. To me, that's one of the restrictions, because for me, it doesn't make, if you want a weapon for your protection of your home, your own person. To me, an armor-piercing bullet, that's not for your protection. How is that for your protection? That you need an armor-piercing bullet?
It's somebody coming at you in a car. I need my bullet to get through that door and get to you.
Somebody coming at you. Where you at? That they coming at you with a car?
Hey, you never know.
Get your butt out the way.
Hey,
you're more agile. You're more agile than a car. But go ahead.
Hey, I look at ammunition and all this like I look at money.
Uh-huh.
It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
but that's one of the restrictions that I'm looking at. Some of these weapons that have these magazines that can hold all of these bullets and can fire semi-automatic and all the rest of that stuff. Those are the type of things that I have a problem with as far as some of these guns.
I got a problem off the rip. You gonna tell me I can get a gun and you want to limit my ammunition? You want to limit the number of rounds that my gun can hold?
Yeah.
So you want to limit the magazine?
Yeah.
Like California.
Yeah.
Like California over there.
Yeah. Because
like
Guess what? I limit your ability to be able to just shoot somebody because you want to. There's a restriction on that.
I said that's illegal.
I know it is.
It's illegal to go out here and kill someone.
I know it is.
It's illegal to go kill someone.
That's right, brother. That's right. So I'm limiting your ability or your desire to go out there and kill somebody. I want to also limit your ability to have a armor piercing weapon. I also want to limit your ability. Go ahead.
Hey, you're not limiting the desire.
I hear you.
Limiting the desire, whether the person do it or not. If a person wants to kill someone, that desire is still there now.
I hear you.
The desire is still there.
I hear you. I agree with you.
You're not limit the desire.
Yeah, I agree with you. But what I do want to limit is their ability. I want to try as best I can. To limit their ability to fulfill that desire. Now, am I always going to do it? No. Like you said, they can use a knife. They can use a shoe. They can use a rope. And then, there's all kind of other methods that they can use. But a gun, I think you and I both agree that that's probably one of, if not the most effective means to kill somebody is a gun.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So I want to limit their ability to do that for the wrong reason. That's all. Now, again, look, brother, let me tell you something. Maybe I didn't tell you this. Maybe I didn't tell you this about myself. Let me tell you this. If you and I are out in public someplace and some fool, and you got your gun on you. I don't have a gun. I don't carry a gun. But you got your gun on you and it's loaded, ready to go.
Of
And
course.
there's some fool out there that's attacking somebody, right? They're attacking them. They don't even have a gun. They using their fists, they kicking them, they whatever. And they're really hurting this person. And you there with your gun. Look, brother, I even help you. If you pull your gun out, because you got got a carry permit, you pull your gun out and you say, yo, hey, brother, you or whoever, cease and desist, right? Cease and desist.
So what now?
Cease and desist. Stop what you're doing. And they continue to do it. And you feel the only way that you can stop them is shoot them. Brother, I'm behind you. I'm with you. I'm with you. So don't get me wrong. I don't think that, or somebody trying to break into your house. They're actually literally trying to break into your, they haven't even broken into it. They trying. See, me personally, you have a weapon. I don't have a problem with you defending yourself because you don't know what that person is going to do. You don't know if they got a gun. You don't know what their intentions are. And if you're trying to protect yourself and your family, believe me, brother, I'm on board with you. Things like that, I don't have a problem with. It's just that some of these other reasons that these people have these guns, I think there should be some restrictions on it. That's the only difference. The only difference, I think one of our biggest difference is I believe in gun ownership. But I think our biggest difference is you and Aaron and other people say, hey, look, I want my gun and I don't want you in my business. I don't want no restrictions. And I say, no, we got to have some restrictions. That's my only difference, I think.
But this is part of the problem. We've had this argument in this country for the last 30 years since I've been an adult.
It's been longer,
and this argument. What now?
I said it's been longer, but you're right. The only one you,
right? No.
The only one you are personally aware of. The one you are personally aware of.
Since I went in the military,
right?
And it comes down to it comes down to telling me, in a sense, how to protect someone. How I can protect my house. I'm a guy. I'm never gonna tell you. I mean, my gun is if I need it for protection, it's there. But I like guns. I'm one of them dudes that grew up around guns. I think I first shot a gun. I think I was about 7 years old. First time I ever fired a gun. And it was on from there.
Right.
So some people just like guns. We just done dressed it up where people can't say. Well, where people can't say the reason why they like guns. I like to pull the trigger and hear it go bang. That's just me. That's me, and that's a lot of gun owners right there.
Right, and I agree with you.
So now you're trying to limit.
No, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to limit you from owning that gun.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you. I'm talking about the
I'm representing those people. Yeah, I'm representing those people. So okay, so it is me. I'm representing those people. And here's what we're saying. We're saying we're okay with you owning your gun, Jackie. And we're okay with you pulling that trigger and hearing it go bang, bang. We're okay with you shooting it at a target. We're okay with you shooting it at a deer. You know, we're okay with you using it responsibly. We're 100% okay with that. What we're not okay with is it being used in an irresponsible way, which it appears that that's the vast majority of deaths. People are using those guns. They're either murdering people, they're committing self-harm, suicides. So
you take all guns away because 10,000 people.
Now look at you. Now look at you. Now look at what you just did. You pulled a Republican. I said nothing about taking any guns away from anybody.
Okay.
All right. No, I'm not for that.
But you say limited.
Limited doesn't.
Limit?
Now come on, brother. You know what limited means. Limited don't mean nothing. Limited don't mean zero.
I want you to tell me when you say limited, what do you actually mean when you say limit? Limited how?
I just kind of explained that to you a little earlier about the type.
I know you talking about the type. You talking about the ammunition. You talking about the ammunition.
That's one of the things. Well, and I guess that's the main thing. Another thing is a silencer. What's the purpose of a silencer on a weapon?
Because the purpose of a silencer on a weapon is, matter of fact, that boom actually hurts your ears. That's why you see gun enthusiasts when they're firing, they have ear protection on.
Well, put
Because
the ear
that noise
protection
actually
on.
will hurt your ear.
Yeah, put your ear protection on. Because to me, when I think of a silencer, maybe I've been. That's another thing. I'm glad we're having this conversation. Maybe I've been watching too many
You have
movies.
too, you watch too much
Yeah,
TV.
yeah, that's right. What it is, because when
You watch too much TV.
I don't see them at the gun range with the silencer. Now maybe that's something I've been missing. They need to, I've been seeing them with those silencer when they trying to do something sneaky.
Right, that's on TV. That's
That's
not
on
real
TV.
life.
Okay, okay.
Oh, and I'm pretty sure somebody in real life that has used a silencer
Right,
in
right.
the commission of a crime.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not happening.
Right.
But guess what? There's people out here use a car in the commission of a crime.
I agree
You ain't
with
see
you.
them stop making cars.
I agree with you. See, this is my whole thing with guns. If there's a way that we know that people have been using them improperly and it's causing, the vast majority of deaths here and there, whatever. And if it's something that we can prevent without taking the person's...
Can't prevent it.
Yeah.
I don't believe you can prevent it. You can't prevent it.
Well, yeah, you can prevent it.
You're not going to prevent it.
Yeah,
you're not going to prevent it. You're not going to prevent a person. Look here. We got an old saying down south, Pop, just old country boy.
Uh-huh.
So I call myself a Sikh student.
Uh-huh.
We have a saying down south. The bars on the windows are there to keep the honest people honest. That's the only reason why you put bars on your window.
Uh-huh.
You're not keeping out the criminal. The criminal ones inside your house, they're coming inside your house.
Oh, I believe there's a lot of reason. I think there's a lot of logic to what you're saying. Yeah, I get that. Okay, brother. Look like we done ran out of time here, but this has been an interesting subject, and hope
we need to pick this. We need to pick this. We need to continue this next week.
Well, hey, if you think there's some things that we need to follow up on, we can go ahead and do that. Hey, I know we're kind of over time a little bit here, but what do you think about some of the stuff in the local news? Some of the stuff that's going on here in America today. The recent stuff, with the war and some of this other the TSA and any thoughts on any of that stuff?
I don't understand why TSA is in the airport. Because I literally was in Florida last week. Well, I came back Wednesday.
You mean ICE? You mean ICE? ICE is in the airport.
Yeah, I did. ICE. But ICE, I did. I looked it up before I went to the airport to see if ICE was in the airport in Fort Lauderdale, which they were not.
Oh, okay.
They're only in certain cities.
Okay.
But I mean, it's clear what the agenda is.
What's the agenda?
We don't catch you. You catch you at the airport trying to leave. So that's the only thing I think.
I think it's intimidation. I think that this.
Of course it's intimidation.
I think that this president, and this is going to set you off a little bit, but that's okay. But I think that this president that you helped get elected, he's a bully. He's a bully. He loves to intimidate people, right? That's why he went ahead and attacked Iran, Venezuela. If you'll notice, he attacks countries. He's a bully. He does what bullies do. He attacked people, places that he know he can beat, right?
And I get that.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of.
Do you think?
Go ahead, brother.
Do you think this is Trump, or do you think Israel got something to do with it?
Oh man, Israel got a big part to do with it. Absolutely. I think Netanyahu. I think with this war in Iran, I think Netanyahu's been for years. He's been trying to get an American president to do his bidding to go ahead and take Iran out. And he couldn't find a fool until he ran across President Donald J. Trump. He fell for it. So yeah, I think Israel has a big part in us being in Iran right now. I think they have a big part in it. But ultimately, it was Trump because he's our president. And he could have what they say, go suck an egg. He could have told Netanyahu go suck an egg or whatever. But he fell for it. So yeah, that's my thought. What do you think?
No, I believe I believe Israel. Israel is a big part of this.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and it's understanding what's Israel's agenda
exactly.
and how this is playing in.
Let me ask you another question.
There's a, there-
You prior military, you know about the military. Well, why do you think they're sending in that 82nd Airborne paratroopers and stuff? What do you think they do? Trump said he ain't put. Well, first of all, Trump said we ain't going. We're not starting no war. That was the first thing. We got a war, and so now he also said we ain't putting no troops on the ground. And I'm thinking, 82nd Airborne paratroopers. That mean I'm thinking
Wait a minute.
they jump out the sky and parachute and they go into enemy territory. I think that's what they do.
They're looking for. I think they're looking for somebody.
You think they're
What?
looking for somebody?
Yeah, I think they probably looking for somebody.
Yeah.
Why would you send 82nd in there?
Well, what they want to
I mean,
do.
you look. You,
What they want to do is that Strait of Hormuz, whatever it's called, that that body of water there, that little opening there. I think that they want to occupy that area so they can allow those tankers to come through. I really think that, and they're going to do it. I mean, it's just a matter of when. But look, he didn't mobilize those air carriers and all the rest of that. He didn't mobilize those people there just for fun. It wasn't a drill. I mean, he's for real.
Correct.
And but yeah, that was just my. I just wanted to know what your thoughts and opinion was on that. But anything else in the news?
I think, you know what?
Go ahead, brother.
And I still, I mean, like I said, I voted for him, but I don't necessarily support everything that Trump does.
Oh, no.
Don't get me twisted on that.
No.
Yeah.
I don't believe you do.
I think. Do
I said I
think
don't.
he's a bully?
I don't believe you do.
Absolutely. I 100% think he's a bully. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think, I go back to this. Every president that we have in there, if Kamala Harris would have been elected, we'd be sitting around here complaining about some bullshit that she got going on.
Well, you're right. Some of us would, and you're absolutely right. Neither side is going to be happy with the other side. No matter what happened. And I agree with that. I don't think either side is going to be happy with what the other side is doing, because the stuff that did you hear that he's talking about putting his name on a dollar bill signature? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, I heard it a long time ago.
Come on, brother. He already done put his name on the Kennedy Center, right? He done put his name. What the heck what's going on here? Somebody said, what else was he going to name his? There was something in one of the other countries he was going to name himself after. But it's like, what is going on with this man? But anyway, all right, brother. I think
I just think overall, I think to it, and this is gonna sound crazy coming from me. I think he could be getting older and losing his damn mind. That's what I'm starting to believe. I think there's a mental disconnect up there.
Oh, I definitely believe that. I also believe there's people that are close to him, that work for him, they're around him. They know it, and I think that they're hoping. I'm thinking that they're hoping that he doesn't do anything too crazy, and that they can survive this. And I think they're playing these odds. They're letting him do some of this stuff, hoping that he doesn't maybe hit the button or something. I don't know. They're willing to take the risk.
He don't mess it up too bad.
Yeah, that he don't mess it up too bad. I think they're hoping that, hey, look, whatever he does, it can be cleaned up by the next administration. I think that's what they're gambling on. And in the process, him and his family, they making a ton of money out of this deal. They're robbing the country, in the world, really. They're making a ton of money off of this presidency. But yeah, I think that's where we're at.
His net worth has definitely jumped since he's been in office.
Absolutely. Okay, brother. I think we'll go ahead and bring this to a close. Appreciate you joining in. I'm sorry Aaron couldn't make it this time, but we'll go ahead and maybe next week. Maybe we'll go ahead and continue this. Maybe some other things will come up. And thank you, audience, listeners, for listening. And we're going to go ahead and sign out. Go ahead, Brother Jackie. Got anything you want to say last minute?
Hey, sorry I was late. Had some other things that I had to do, had to get to. But appreciate you guys listening every week as usual. So tune in next week. We'll be back. We'll be fussing and fighting again next week. So come tune back in.
I'm glad you made it, brother.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.